I'll go over my thoughts on Sound of Freedom, which I think, off the bat, is a very good film. And it made me cry. And it also made me cry more than once. Like I was weeping while I was watching that movie, like Kevin Smith after watching Shang-Chi or something like that. Like, it was pretty bad. I was like tears streaming down my face as I'm watching the movie, because it's just so horrible. Like the subject alone. And it was done, at least I think in this movie, quite tastefully and well. I could have maybe done with a little less of the first scene in which the children are being the two children in question. Because okay, I guess we'll get into this before I even start a thing. So there's two children who are kind of the main a focal point of the conflict, even though they're essentially, and this is explained at the end of the film too. So I mean, I'll say that I'm gonna be giving spoilers for Sound of Freedom. It's based on a real event, so I mean, realistically, if you'd read the news, you would probably know about this. Or honestly, if you knew anything about the stuff that happened, yeah, like you'd be totally clear on everything, and I don't think I could spoil anything for you. But there's not really a way for me to talk about Sound of Freedom without jumping all over the map and talking about all of it. It is basically a mythology story, and the reason I say that, I'm not denigrating it at all, and I think the special message that Jim Caviezel gives at the end, like there's a little timer that comes up on screen. It says like special message in 2 minutes or something to that effect, and then he gives a little speech. Effectively, the two main children, the children who are focused on as like named characters who are significant to the story, I don't believe are real people, but they're used as, or I don't think they're specifically real people, because I mean, obviously this is the kind of story where you would want to create fictionalized characters if you're going to tell it, because like those are, if they're real kids that you're showing exactly what they've gone through here, it's kind of like, I mean, you're putting them on display. And so I understood the idea of, in addition to having the main, or the a big large group of children that got really large that were actually saved, there are two children which are used as characters in a film, and I appreciate that. I think that it made for a very compelling story with a very good emotional arc, and I kind of don't want to dig into exactly how accurate or not it was, because the storytelling and their use as a device in the storytelling was extremely effective. Extremely effective as a vehicle to deliver an emotional payoff. And yeah, I'm totally okay with emotions here. I'm not the type that's like, a real man needs to suppress his emotions. It's like, no, that's not true at all. It's actually, it's detrimental to your mental health to totally suppress all your emotions and never show them. Which is why I have no problem telling you that while watching Sound of Freedom, I probably was brought to tears 4 times. Now, not weeping, not like, oh my god, I can't even believe this is happening, but like, oh, like just looking at it and getting so sad and so angry at the same time. Like, this movie elicited a lot of anger from me. Arguably murderous rage. And it's that feeling and knowing that you're powerless to express that murderous rage. It's so hard to deal with, so you end up crying. Yeah, I guess that's probably explaining it well. Knowing that I'm probably never going to be in a situation where I can help kids like that, beyond, say, for example, telling you guys that, yeah, go see Sound of Freedom in theaters. I even bought a pay-it-forward ticket. So if someone goes for free, you could say you're going on me, you know, because I bought somebody a ticket on their website. I use their gimmick. They're scan this QR code and you can buy someone else a ticket to spread word about this movie, because we don't really have a marketing budget. I'm saying, though, that the anger of knowing that, hey, I want to bring every single one of these people to justice. I want to save every single one of those children who are like full-blown slaves, like sex slaves at that too. Like not even just like, hey, they make Nike shoes or whatever. They make Disney stuffed animals. You know, like we're talking, these are, and they keep on repeatedly referring to the fact that these children are being sold like 4 or 5 times a day. So that means they're having sex 4 or 5 times a day with adult men, whether they're male or female themselves too. So you hear that, and then you hear it repeated, and you see aspects of it. And I think that those aspects that they showed, again, for the only part that I thought was kind of bordering on tasteless, or not tasteless, or a little showing a little bit more of what they needed to show to get the impression across, was the audition scene towards the beginning. So these, to explain the plot, because I will explain the plot, and I think that even if I tell you everything that happens in this movie, I believe you should still go see it. Or go on the website and buy someone a pay-it-forward ticket. Because this movie kind of deserves to be out there and seen, because it will really kind of make you go, oh man, this is not right. This is not right, and this should not be happening in our world. It really sort of confirms that there is evil in this world. Like, some people are bad people. They are bad guys. And I wish that I was in a different point in my life, because if in 2008 to 2016, if I had seen a movie like this, honestly, I probably would have changed my my focus in my military career. I might have honestly gone into more law enforcement type stuff, just because it, like, I want these people brought to justice so bad, I can't even tell you. And I know that I can't really do a whole lot aside from spread awareness, which is, you know, it's not nothing. But also, I'll never be able to really feel like I've actually helped anyone, and that is saddening to me. Like, it's like, man, there's nothing I can do really to do any kind of direct action to specifically help actual kids that are in this situation, other than talking about it, just because, like, my body won't be able to handle it. I'm now at a point in my life where it's like, I'm crippled, I'm an amputee, I've lost a leg, I'm not the soldier that I was 10 years ago. And that guy was pretty kick-ass, gotta say. He was good at what he did. But I'm not really that guy anymore. You know? Like, that was almost a different life ago. And that's kind of the reason why I've decided that I want to leave the military, because I don't think I can quite be the type of person I need to be a good soldier. But we need good soldiers. We need good cops. We need good Homeland Security people. MJO Skyver? I'll just call you Skyver. Says he's rewatching it sometime this week. Now, this is interesting. I plan to buy the 4K of this, if they release one. I'm hoping Angel Studios, by the way, you should release a 4K Blu-ray steelbook of this thing that is $80 and comes with all sorts of stuff, and it embeds a donation to a legit and actually effective human trafficking charity. Like, I think that would actually be a really solid call. But I don't know if I can ever watch this movie again, guys. Not that it wasn't good. It was very good, but it's good, and it's harrowing. Like, it's an experience to go through, which is difficult. And the reason I say I don't know if I'm ever going to watch this movie again is because I can't imagine a situation in which I'm going to be thinking, I want to go through that experience again. Because, again, like, it infuriated me. I was fuming. I was, like, making a fist and just hoping that I could find a child trafficker between here and, like, the door of the theater, which, I mean, obviously that's never going to happen. But I was just like, man, I need to deal with something. I need to do something to deal with this. So, I mean, hey, that's why I'm kind of doing this little review-ish thing, impression, whatever. But yeah, so I guess going back to that audition scene, that was the only time that I felt like it was effective in that, like, it did show how these kids are tricked into thinking, oh, these people just think I'm special and they want me to be a star, so I should smile for the camera and look really cute and do all sorts of poses and let them change my hair and stuff. And I was like, I could have maybe done with that scene being a third the length it was, because I was like, I don't need to be looking at kids being told to make more sexually suggestive faces and stuff. And like, it just, like, I mean, it wasn't bad, it wasn't poorly done, and I don't think it was exploitative at all. Just that scene was making me uncomfortable in a way that I didn't find as emotionally affecting, because I was thinking about the director and the editor more than the human traffickers that they're trying to demonstrate are evil in their film. And I wouldn't for a second think that, oh, these guys are doing it because they just wanted to see little kids making pouty faces and smiling and stuff in the audition scene. I don't think that's the case at all. But that was the only part of the movie that I think, if you could make the argument was not tastefully done, that would be it. And the downside, I guess, is that's also the one that happens at the very beginning of the movie. Like, it's maybe 3 minutes into the film. So it's possible you might get kind of thrown off by that and be like, oh god, this is just cuties for conservatives. Like, I'm like, oh no, I would not say that's the case at all. Granted, I've not seen Cuties. I don't plan to see Cuties. It is not a film that interested me at all. And but at the same time, I also didn't really give a shit about the controversy either. Like, people got very mad about Cuties, and my whole deal was like, I'm just not gonna watch it. Like, there's not really anything else to it other than that. I don't care. I'm not gonna see it. It's fine. And talking about the alt-right QAnon movie that's causing more harm to kids. Yeah, no, that's not at all the case. Like, this movie has nothing to do with politics, really. It really doesn't. If anything, the thing it has to do with policy is maybe that we should be doing more international cooperation, like joint operations, and focusing on child trafficking, human trafficking in general, because it's not like, hey, once you hit 18, you being trafficked doesn't matter. That's not really the case. But it's but yeah, so Skyber says, I agree, it could be shorter to still imply the setup of what's to come. Terrible outcomes the kids are aware aren't aware of. Yeah, so they said are aware of. I was like, oh, they're not aware of it at all. But yeah, so but that scene, like, I mean, honestly, I could take it or leave it, and I guess like that scene and my discomfort with it is the reason I had zero interest in watching Cuties, because I'm like, nah, I'm not. That's not going to be the kind of film I'm going to enjoy. Like, that was where it began and ended with me. I think it should still be allowed to exist, more or less, because ultimately, if the film was made and if it was done legally within the confines of the country it was made in, if the parents were consenting, if, like, I mean, it's not great. I don't think it's a good thing to do. I don't think it should be, what would be the word for it? Not replicated. But I don't think that type of film should be a common type of film. Like, I don't think that should be something you're seeing all the time. But I'm also, like, I don't know. I guess not, like, I'm enough of a free speech advocate that I'm like, hey, like, if you made something that was legal to produce, I don't really think burying it or trying to get it pulled off the platform that it's on is exactly the way to handle it. I think, honestly, the better way to handle it is to watch it, pirate it, watch it for free so that you're not giving the people money, and then criticize it. Tell people why it's as harmful or terrible as it is. Because I'm not saying it's not. I don't really have a dog in the fight one way or the other on that film, but I think that I think that trying to get a movie removed from circulation is not a good way to fight a battle against it. I think that fighting the battle is much more effectively done by considering what the issue is and then talking about why it's a bad thing. And I personally have no interest at all in doing that for Cuties, which is why I've never watched it. It's like, this is a movie that doesn't interest me. I feel like it will make me uncomfortable in ways that I don't want to voluntarily subject myself to. And I don't care enough to dig in and criticize it and talk about why it's a problem. So that's a movie that I avoided. This movie, though, again, features a similar subject matter in a way, in that children being exploited. Very different situations, though, being a social pressure and modern media making a girl want to sexualize herself at a very young age, and the story of how that interacts with her family and her friends. Cool. Yeah, I mean, sure. I think that if you do that story gratuitously, you're a terrible person who probably should be investigated heavily. But if you made the movie and no laws were broken and the movie was done and people want to see it, it's like, okay, let them watch it then. It's like, I don't think that's the battle that needs to be fought. I think a better way to fight that battle would be to tell more people to go see Sound of Freedom, because it's the kind of thing that will fire people up. And maybe I am past the point in my life where I can be like, yeah, okay, you know what, I'm gonna try to get a job for CSIS, which is our intelligence agency, and what that will do, international stuff. Or I'm gonna go hard trying to get into the special forces, and I might have been able to do that when I was younger, like definitely not. Although I don't know, I've probably never had the run speed for it. Realistically, I've never been a fast runner, not in my entire life. But anyways, there's other people out there though that might be a guy who's in really good shape and trying to get a football scholarship or something like that, who sees this movie and is like, yeah, I'm focusing on the wrong things in life. I need to stop this stuff. And then you have a powerhouse dude that's now getting into the type of work that will save actual kids. So that is the means by which I think advocating for people going to see this movie might actually fire up the right kind of people to step up and make an actual difference. Jim Caviezel's performance was very, very good. That man's ability to cry is impressive and did definitely help trigger my similar emotional reactions. Because in situation where he's trying to hold it together, but you just see a tear forming in his eye that then rolls down his cheek, the way it's shot, often in pretty specific close-ups, connects you to that emotion very, very effectively. Which is, again, I think like this show, it pulled off a magic trick of being able to make me cry more times in 1 2-hour period than should be reasonably possible. Yeah, like I'm not a Kevin Smith type. Okay, granted, I smoke pot. Okay, like there is that. And Gary often says, like, I don't even think he really like is having emotional reaction. He's just a stoner. Stoner sometimes will cry over stuff. It's like, okay, well, I mean, I don't really have an argument there. But yeah, I think that his ability to emote while hardly moving his face is impressive. Because I don't exactly know how he does it. He's basically totally deadpan wooden the entire movie. But you have a 100% read on his emotions at all time, because he manages to do it like with just his eyes. And I'm not talking about his eyebrows. I'm talking about his eyes. It's actually really interesting how good an actor he actually is. And I say that knowing that he might be kind of a dick, because I have a friend who worked on Person of Interest and really didn't like Jim Caviezel. He's like, this guy's like, he's the most colossal asshole. I can't even tell. And I mean, that might be true. It might not be. I will say though that his acting is top notch. Like he's really, really very good. And he's like he carries this movie so hard. And not that, I should clarify that. Not that all the other performances are bad or anything like that. In fact, a lot of them, the children are fantastic. Like, granted, they have the benefit of only speaking in Spanish. So if they're bad at delivering dialogue, I kind of can't tell. And that's always kind of the interesting thing about watching a subtitled deal. And this movie, for the most part, is in English. Like all the main characters who you see often are English speaking. They do spend a lot of time in South America, so there is some Spanish thrown in here and there, obviously, when they're talking with locals. And if you're a Spanish speaker, you will probably pick up on a lot more stuff, because every so often people are saying things and there's not subtitles. So you assume that that's just like background talk or whatever. Or at least I think that's what was happening. Maybe I just wasn't noticing. I might have been crying too much because this movie was harrowing. Can more easily recount the last time I teared up due to a bong rip than I could during a movie video game. I mean, yeah, like sure, but I mean, I do cry over media sometimes. That's something I'm comfortable admitting, because if a piece of media has triggered tears, it means that that it has deeply affected me emotionally, and that I connected to the story, and very often more so than the story itself, the underlying themes of that story. Because generally, that's like, I mean, it's kind of the EFAT meme of like, oh, it was the themes, but hashtag themes because themes. It's like, yeah, but themes are not bad, like, and they do exist. It's not like movies do not have any themes, and everyone who says they do is lying. Like that. That's not what's happening here. The theme of a film generally, as I would probably want to describe it to someone who, for example, had an interest in writing, is the underlying emotional intention of the film. Not necessarily the message, but the emotional intention, the reaction, the intended emotional reaction from the film's story. That is what I would say the theme would be. And like you say, oh well, the theme is revenge. It's like, okay, well, revenge. What about revenge? Because it's the emotion that is important there. It's the how you feel about the topic that constructs the theme. So if it's like revenge is, I don't know. I guess here I'll use Last of Us 2 just because it's one that here I hate on a lot. So I'll give it a little bit of, let's not say credit. I'll use it as an easy example because it's kind of nothing as far as like how much value it actually has as a revenge story. So the whole deal with Last of Us 2 is revenge is bad. The cycle of revenge is never ending, and it'll keep going no matter what. And if you don't decide to not kill the person and not, if you don't decide to spare the person you want revenge on, it'll be an endless cycle. So that emotional reaction is I need to just let go. It's the wanting to settle down. It's the releasing your anger and forgive it. And I don't think it was done well in that game, but it's very simplistic, so it's easy to explain. And that's why every time everyone says, "Oh my God, the deep themes of Last of Us 2," I was like, it's shallow as a fucking puddle, man. It is just revenge bad. And you should feel bad if you want revenge, so you should forgive instead. Which, sure, not a bad moral, but it's very, very simple. And I mean, realistically, the moral of this film is very, very simple. And I said in the line that has rallied most people against it, because it's right there in the most Christian movie line of the film. God's children are not for sale. Now, whether you're religious or not, and because I'm kind of not, I was raised Catholic, but I would say I'm agnostic. I think that it would be safe to say that I believe in God, in that I believe in a higher power. I'm not sure it's a being called God, nor am I sure that it is 100% true that everything that happened in everyone's religious fables was a real thing that actually went down. So that there's my skeptical atheist aspect coming in, but I was raised Catholic, and I enjoy a lot of the ritual of the Catholic religion, especially the stuff that involves family. And I think that my family was a good family. We spent a lot of really quality time together, and a lot of that time happened around things like Christmas and Easter, So and I pray sometimes too. So I wouldn't say that I like every single night I pray, or I go to church every Sunday and pray, but I pray when I am having trouble keeping things together. Because I find that just saying aloud the things that scare me and the things that I want and what I need to do next is helpful for me to organize it. And I find that prayer, you could call it, does help with that. And because I said, raised Catholic, when I pray, I do the sign of the cross, and I mean, I've had my communion, I've gone to confessions, I still remember all the prayers, so it's still in there. It's just, if someone pushed me on it, it'd be like, yeah, do you believe that every single story in the Bible flat out happened and was true? I'm just gonna say no. Like, and I mean, I know that there's people that be like, oh, some of them, and like also there's embellishments and different translations and stuff. I'll be like, yeah, I think most of it is probably storytelling. I'm not to the point of saying like Jesus wasn't a real guy or anything, but I think most of them are allegorical tales that, hey, have themes and give you emotional reactions when you read them, because the stories can give you that. I think that it is it is simple enough. Going back to the line, God's children are not for sale, just means human beings, like beings that think, beings that have as much potential as one of us have. We are not products. We're not things that you can exchange for money. Our sexuality is not something that you can take from people. And I mean, it's like that is just a simple message that I think it's so hard to argue with, because if you're arguing with the idea of God's children are not for sale, I feel like you're just a hardline anti-theist and will say, oh, well, he said God, so like what the spaceman says they're not for sale, okay, I guess I'm gonna sell a kid then. No, you're not gonna say that. Like, he's God's children is like, it's just him saying human beings. We are even adults are God's children. As far as his belief, which I believe he was Catholic as well, pretty sure. He might have been Protestant or another denomination of Christian. But clearly a religious guy, though. So, like, I mean, and I think that it's one of the reasons why Angel Studios probably hopped on top of it. It might be one of the reasons that Jim Caviezel wanted to be in it, because he's very clearly a Christian guy. or maybe Catholic also. I don't know. But I never know with the states, because here every single person I know who's Christian is a Catholic, and I've not really met a whole lot of Protestants in Canada. Granted, it might just be the areas I was in and stuff like that. But anyways, so that idea, I think, should be universally accepted as the truth. Not a theory, the truth. Human beings should not be sold as property. Just flat out.